Have you ever felt like everything is moving too fast? The messages won't stop. The deadlines keep coming. Your mind feels like a crowded room where every voice is screaming at once. And deep down, you just want one quiet moment. A moment Ariduru, without expectations, without comparison, without pressure, just silence. But when you try to find that silence, it vanishes. You check your phone, another notification. You turn on the TV, the chaos of the world pours into your living room. And inside your head, the thoughts won't stop spinning. It's like there's no space left to breathe. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine sitting still while the world outside keeps spinning. Imagine hearing your own thoughts and they're not screaming. Imagine finding a space inside yourself where nothing can hurt you, where no pressure, no opinion, no disaster can reach. A safe space, invisible but unshakable. The ancient Japanese masters believed that this space exists, and it's not out there. It's not on top of a mountain or inside a hidden temple. It's inside you, but you can only access it in one way, through silence. Not the kind of silence where you don't speak. The kind of silence where you observe, where you accept, where you let the dust settle before reacting. For centuries, Japan has cultivated a tradition of meditations that aren't just for relaxation, they are for transformation. They train the mind like a sword, and just like a finely forged blade, this mind can cut through illusion, excess, and fear. But why talk about this now? Why bring back ancient practices in the 21st century? Because we are living in one of the greatest emotional crises in human history. According to the World Health Organization, cases of depression and anxiety have increased by over 25% since the pandemic. The American Psychological Association reports that more than 70% of young adults in the U.S. say they feel emotionally exhausted, but no one talks about the real reason. It's not just too much work. It's too little depth. It's the lack of internal space, the lack of what the Japanese call ma, the space between things. And it's in that space that resilience is born, not as brute force, but as acceptance, as clarity, as wisdom. Contrary to what many believe, Japanese people don't meditate just to feel good. They meditate to see reality as it truly is. No masks, no filters. As harsh as it may seem, that is the key to real strength. In Japanese tradition, resilience isn't about enduring until you explode. It's about bending like bamboo. It sways with the wind, but never breaks. It adapts but doesn't lose itself. You can find this teaching everywhere in Japanese culture, from Zen monks to samurai warriors. Did you know that Zen monks would sometimes meditate beneath freezing waterfalls? Not to prove strength, but to train the mind to stay calm even in discomfort, to observe pain. And by observing, transform it. And samurai, they didn't just train with swords. They meditated on death daily because they knew that only those who accept death can live with purpose. That practice is called Hansei, reflecting on your actions, your mistakes, what you could have done better. It's like an internal mirror, not to shame yourself, but to understand yourself. You might think this doesn't apply to you. After all, you're not a monk. You're not facing sword duels. But the mental battles we fight every day, they're just as brutal. Battles against comparison, anxiety, fear of failure, the inner voice that never stops judging. And that's why these practices matter now more than ever. Japanese meditations like Hansei and Shodō meditative, calligraphy offer wisdom the modern world has forgotten. They don't give you fast answers, but they reveal something more important: your capacity to be with yourself in peace. The problem is, we've been trained to run from silence, because silence shows us who we really are, and that can be scary. But that's where resilience lives. Japanese wisdom teaches that you don't need to conquer the world to have peace. You need to conquer yourself, to master your thoughts, to quiet the ego, to accept imperfection. And that only happens when you slow down, when you pause, and listen to what's beneath the noise. In the next chapters, you'll learn about these practices. You'll see how they work and how they can fit into your routine, even if you live in a busy city with kids, a job, and little free time. But before we continue, something important. If this message is resonating with you, if something inside is waking up, consider becoming a member of this channel. Your support keeps content like this alive. Content that doesn't scream for attention, but speaks to the soul. It allows me to keep researching, creating, and sharing this forgotten wisdom with people who truly need it. The join button is right below. And if it's not the right time, that's okay. Just the fact that you're still here tells me you're looking for something deeper than distraction. You're looking for meaning. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders. Sichi istu for a moment, and come with me, because in the next chapter we begin walking the path that monks, warriors, and artists have followed for centuries, the path that transforms suffering into wisdom. In ancient Japan, a warrior wasn't admired just for his strength or sword skills. He was respected for something far more subtle, something invisible, something you wouldn't see on the battlefield, but you would feel in his presence, in his gaze, and especially in his silence, his unshakable mind. That calm, focused state wasn't a gift. It was shaped through daily practices of deep self. Among these, 3 meditations stood out: Zazen, Hansei, and Shodō. Each one is like a blade in a spiritual sword. Zazen sharpens presence. Hansei cultivates humility and growth. Shodō teaches mindfulness through artistic expression. Let's explore each of them and what they mean for your life right now. Zazen. The meditation of stillness and presence is the sitting meditation of Zen Buddhism. But calling it a technique would be a mistake. Zazen is not something you do. It's something you enter. You sit with a straight spine, hands folded gently, eyes slightly opened, gaze resting a few feet ahead. No mantras, no visualization, no goal. Zazen is pure presence, a state of simply being. And yet, for the modern mind trained to chase outcomes, to fix things, to stay busy, this is incredibly hard. When you sit in silence, what do you find? Restlessness, thoughts racing, uncomfortable feelings, old memories, maybe even fear. But if you stay, something begins to change. You start to notice that you are not your thoughts. You are not your anxiety. You are the one watching it all unfold. And in that space of awareness, you discover a hidden power, the power to not react. In 2015, a Harvard Medical School study found that regular meditation decreases activity in the amygdala, the part of your brain that triggers fear and stress. This isn't just spiritual philosophy, it's neuroscience. But Zen monks knew this long ago. They understood that a mind that observes doesn't panic. It sees clearly, and when you see clearly, you suffer less. Hansei, the warrior's second practice is Hansei, and it may be the most overlooked in Western culture. Hansei is the meditation of honest self, not to punish yourself, but to grow. It's about taking a quiet moment to ask, where did I miss the mark today? Even today, in Japan, major companies like Toyota use Hansei at the end of big projects. Team leaders openly admit what they could have done better even when everything went well. Because in Hansei, the focus isn't success, it's self-awareness. This mindset comes directly from the samurai tradition. After a duel or even a training session, warriors would sit in silence and reflect, not to obsess over mistakes, but to understand the inner movements that led to them in daily life. You can practice Hansei by asking questions like, what did I do today that disconnected me from my true self? Where did I act impulsively instead of mindfully? What did I avoid and why? And again, this is not guilt. It's not judgment. It's a mirror dot. It takes real strength to face yourself with honesty and kindness at the same time. But that's what builds resilience. The way of the brush, the third practice, is probably the most beautiful Shodō, or the way of writing. At first glance, it seems like elegant calligraphy, but in Japanese tradition, Shodō is a form of meditation in motion. The brush, the paper, the ink, each becomes an extension of your mind. A true Shodō master Dosen teaches perfection. Seeks intention. Each stroke must come from presence. If your mind is distracted, the line will tremble. If you're rushed, the ink will blot. If your ego takes over, the brush becomes stiff. Shodō is a mirror of your inner state. It reveals more than any conversation, even today, in Zen retreats across Japan. Calligraphy is used to train focus and awareness. You don't have to be an artist to try this. Write something by hand, one word, one thought, not for Instagram, not for anyone else, just for yourself. Feel the pen, the movement, the silence. A 2019 study in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine found that mindful calligraphy significantly lowers cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone. But more than that, Shodō teaches you to do simple things deeply. And that is a forgotten art in our age of distraction. 3 practices. 1 Zazen teaches stillness. Hansei teaches honesty. Shodō teaches presence in motion. Together, they form a complete path. Not to escape the world, but to face it with calm clarity. To stay rooted when others lose control. To grow from mistakes instead of hiding from them. To find beauty not in results, but in the process itself. Japanese resilience is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's in the way you breathe before reacting, in the way you move with care, even in chaos, in the way you own your story, without excuses. This path is not for the perfect. It's for those who are willing to look inward again and again. You don't need to shave your head or leave your life behind. You just need to pause, to sit, to ask, to write. And in that silence, you may find a strength you never knew you had. In the next chapter, we'll take everything we've explored so far and bring it into daily life. You'll learn how to apply these practices simply, intentionally, and how a little silence might just change everything. So far, we've explored silence, reflection, and art as forms of meditation. But maybe you're still asking yourself, how does this actually fit into real life? How do you practice Zazen with screaming kids, endless meetings, and constant pings from your phone? How do you reflect like a samurai when you're already drowning in guilt? How do you do calligraphy when you don't even have a brush, let alone time? The Japanese answer would be simple. Start small. Eastern wisdom doesn't rush. It sees time as a friend, not an enemy. Nothing that is deep is built in a hurry. So in this final chapter, let's bring these teachings into your everyday life. No temples, no robes, no incense, just presence and a willingness to meet yourself. Datuan Zazen in the modern world. Don't need to sit for an hour to benefit. Just 5 minutes of stillness done with intention can crack open the concrete of daily pressure. Tomorrow morning, before checking your phone, just sit, feet on the ground, eyes half closed. No goal, no judgment. Let thoughts come and go. Label them thinking and let them pass. Breathe it may feel chaotic at first, but over Chimi, it becomes your refuge. It's like opening a window in a room that's been sealed for years. Suddenly, the air changes. Light enters, and your mind finds room to breathe. You can do this before a big decision, before responding to a harsh email. Even in a bathroom stall at work. Zazen doesn't need a shrine, only a momentan. Your presence to Hansei. At the end of the day, no need 4 pages of journalling. Try this. Just before bed, ask yourself one question. What today pulled me away from who I want to be? Or, if I could relive this day, what would I do differently? But remember, this is not about guilt. It's not a punishment. It's a lens, a way to see clearly, to notice pattern, to catch yourself in the act, not to blame but to grow. You'll start to notice repeated behaviors, moments you shrink, words you regret, emotions you deny. Hansei is how the strong stay humble and how the humble stay strong. It's not about being flawless. It's about being awake. That's Shodō for the non-artist you. Don't need a brush. You don't even need talent. All you need is a pen, a piece of paper, and a word. Choose one piece. Stillness. Focus. Write it slowly. Again and again. Not for likes. Not for beauty. For you. Feel the movement of your hand. Notice the pressure, the breath, the silence between strokes. That's Shodō. It turns something ordinary, something sacred. And it teaches you that depth isn't in what you do. It's in how you do it. Point 4. The power of Ma. The space between in Japanese design. There's a concept called Ma. It means the space between things. The pause between 2 drum beats. The gap between 2 stones in a garden. The silence between breaths. In Western life, we fear space. We fill every gap, every sea, every silence. But in Japan, Ma is not emptiness. It's presence in pause. Try creating small Ma moments in your day. Jump from one task to another. Pause. After finishing a conversation, breathe. Before opening the next tab. Wait. These tiny spaces are sacred. They teach you that you're not a machine. You're human. And humans need silence to stay whole. 5. When all else fails, sitivin. With all this, there will be hard days. Days when you lose your patience. When you forget everything. When the world feels like it's crashing down. On those days, remember this. Just sit. Don't analyze. Don't fix. Just sit. Close your eyes. Feel your breath. Let the chaos roar. But don't move. This is not giving up. This is returning. To yourself. To now. To what matters. 6. A true story. Few years ago, a Japanese executive had a complete breakdown. Severe burnout. His body collapsed. His mind went blank. Instead of firing him, his company did something surprising. They sent him to a Zen monastery. 3 months, no phone, no Wi-Fi, no scheduled start. At first, he felt lost, bored, worthless. But little by little, he started to notice the sound of water, the weight of his steps, the silence between bells dot, and in that silence, he met himself again. When he returned to work, everything changed. He spoke less, but listened more, worked slower, but with greater impact. He began to lead, not from urgency, but from clarity, because he had learned something that no degree, no deadline, no bonus could ever teach: how to sit with himself. Point 7. True strength is invisibly. Won't see this on billboards. You won't hear it in morning meetings. There's no app for it, no algorithm to sell it. But maybe this is the revolution the world is starving for. Not a revolution of noise, but one of stillness. Not to control more, but to need less. Not to rise above others, but to return to yourself. Real resilience doesn't come from being untouchable. It comes from being present, from bending but not breaking, from falling and standing back up with softer eyes and wisdom. It's not about knowing everything, it's about knowing where your peace lives. If this video spoke to something deep in you, share it. Not for the views, but for the one person you know who who's tired, who needs a way back to themselves. And if you feel called to support this kind of content, join the channel. You're not just supporting a creator. You're helping preserve a wisdom that might otherwise be lost in the noise. But as long as someone is willing to sit in silence, this wisdom will remain alive. Thank you for being here, and remember, when it all feels like too much, go back to the beginning. Sit, breathe, observe. That's the first step to everything that matters.